Hi everybody, this is Tom with Culture Chap. So today I want to tell you about a show that is from Broadway that is going to be on TV. Yellowface with Daniel Day Kim. So I'm very excited that they filmed this and they're going to put it on our local American PBS stations wherever you are. And those of you overseas, it's time to get a VPN and advertisers. This is the perfect time for someone like me to go, this is the VPN you should get. Trust me, here's a discount code. Shameless, right? But I don't have those advertisers yet. Anyway, Yellowface is a fantastic comedy based on real life where the writer of a certain show, I'm not sure how much I can let out, the writer of a certain show has an actor that is of mixed descent. Some people say Eurasian. Where I come from, in California, we say Hapa because we have a huge Japanese and Hawaiian population, and that's the word they use, Hapa. So the character is white and Asian. And the crux of the story of the play, which is based on a true story, is they chose a white British actor to do this. And the uproar that happened because of it, because there are a lot of actors out there that are Eurasian or Hapa. And they didn't get those parts. They didn't get that part. Now, this is a while ago and so forth, and you may watch it and think like, ah, ha, ha, comedy, but this is still a real problem in the theater community, is taking on roles that you shouldn't because of the way you look or your ethnic background or just culturally, you know nothing about the person you're portraying because you know nothing about that culture. All right? So this is important. And I want to tell you, because I often get younger actors saying, I want this part, but it belongs to a black character. I want this part, but it belongs to an Asian character, on and on and on. And the excuse is always the same. There are no black actors in our area. There are no Asian actors in our area, which may or may not be true depending on where you live. And on down the line. There are no Mexicans in our area. There are no Polish people in our area. There are no Africans in our area. So you're taking on this role. And you're completely opposite of what the character is. And you're like, that's fine. So it follows you. And no matter where you live, you may think, oh, well, this is fine for this area because everyone knows. Do they? They don't. Everyone knows there's none of that type of actor in our area. So taking this part is fine. Are you always going to live in that area? People move. Are you always going to be at this level of theater? Maybe you're just in community theater and you have no aspirations to go to any other level of theater, but guess what? You're talented, and then you move and you start getting into equity theater or union theaters or foreign theaters, and your resume starts to chase you. And even though your artistic director at the time said, this is fine, don't worry about it. Everyone understands. They don't understand because you shouldn't have done it. All right? It's a serious thing. Now, I believe in certain areas that this is where you get mad at me. I believe in certain areas you wouldn't take on a role for a black actor. Okay, good. But you would take a role for an Asian actor or a Hispanic actor. Do you see where I'm going with this? Because in your area, that seems to be fine because it's just the done thing. Don't do this. You may not stay in that area. You may get a reputation. Doing this role will follow you. Now, a lot of the older actors or older people in the theater will say that's not true. But in the internet age, it is true. You will be researched. Someone who is a critic or a reporter will talk about your show, or a presenter will talk about your show to give you press before the show, et cetera, et cetera. And these things will come up because it's gossip, because it's fodder, because it gets them more readers. So just don't do it. Now, I have a friend. She is a very good actress, and she might get mad at me for this, but she's been calling and saying, what's the problem? And I want to say she and her mother are very smart. The mother used to be an actor in Hollywood. She was very good. She was on soap operas. And she moved to an area too far away to actually keep that same job. Another part of California. And her daughter turned out to be very beautiful, very smart, very quick. And basically, both her parents are in the performing arts, so they grew up like this. And the daughter, for lack of a better word, this is where she'll get mad at me. She looked like animation. She looked like one of the Powerpuff Girls. Big eyes, little pigtails, and she could act. She could act well and she could sing well. And as she grew older, she took on some parts that belonged to Asian actors. Not good. And then she decided to move to Hollywood, to LA, to start doing some film, and it went very well, extremely well. And then they started to research her resume. And she said, oh, I'm just going to take those parts off because I'm an adult now. Why would I have the stuff I did as a kid on my resume? But it's all there. I mean, like, she's under 30, so if you think about it, everything she's had has been recorded on the net since 1994, pardon me. And it's all there. So she took it off her resume, so it doesn't happen immediately. But because of the way she looked, because of her talent, the critics often talked about her by name when she's using the same name. There was pictures of her online, so that part is not going away. And several critics, as she got older in these plays, would say, why did she do this? This is wrong. Okay? So it will chase you. Now, she went up to be a small part in a very famous film, directed by a famous Asian director, and was shocked she didn't get the part. Everything went well. All the callbacks went well. And then they said, we looked into your resume and we don't think you should join us. Yeah, you know what they found? Several parts where she was playing, where she was a little white girl playing roles that did not belong to her because she thought it was okay. She did this as a child. Now, we should know better now, but maybe a girl of 8 and 16 doesn't know better. But the parents should know better. Just because they want her to have these roles, and that's what's happening at the time in their area, and they don't want to lapse in her resume, not having any roles, doesn't mean you should take these things on. All right? I also want to talk about another situation that I was privy to. I've talked about this before, so you may have heard it. A wonderful new play was happening, and it was a lot of war stuff. Not actual war, but preventing war, preventing genocide. And I thought it was a very important play. And they did it because they had a favorite actor in that area who was Middle Eastern. Unfortunately, the play was already under performance, and there was some sort of thing in his family. I think there was an elderly relative who had a horrible accident, and the family moved to be with that relative, and they should have. But there really were no other actors of Middle Eastern descent in their area, and they looked and they looked and they looked and they looked. And I trust them. They really did look, and they looked in the other areas, and their area is just, sparse. So they put in a black actor and told the playwright, everything's already paid for. We're under the gun. We have to open soon, and we would like to put in this line where when it comes up, when the person, the character states his Middle Eastern nature, and this thing shouldn't happen because the enemy will come kill us first. When this black actor says this, what we want to write in, playwright, is, you're not that. Well, yes, I am that. Just because you see this identification in front of you, you think I'm one thing, but I'm actually half Middle Eastern, and you didn't know about that. And I grew up there half my life. And just because you have this accent doesn't mean you know my whole background. Simple. Now, the playwright said yes because they'd already paid and so forth, and they were handling it gracefully. And the playwright said, you should get in front of this. And I agree. So even though they were reticent to do so, and I see why, they stood in front of the audience every time the show went up and said, we had a horrible thing happen to us. Our good friend who was acting in this show, in this Middle Eastern part, had to leave because of a family emergency, an ongoing family emergency. And we were already in rehearsal. That they made this shorter than I'm making it here. We were already in rehearsal, everything was paid for, and we asked the playwright if we could do this. So we want you to not pay close attention, but know that we know you are seeing someone you don't think is the part. We know that you think we've done something incredibly wrong. And we're telling you now, here's a person who is an understudy, who got this role and had a week to prepare for this huge part. And we asked the playwright if we can modify it to say this: please accept who he is as this part and know that we looked and looked and looked. And if you don't realize it, our area is very sparse with the right kind of actor that should be in this role. So please don't take it out on this understudy that we got at the last minute. Please let your sense of disbelief carry you through and know that we wanted to tell you this story because it's important. It's socially relevant. All right? Now, like I said, they did this in a much tighter, more clear and concise way than I just said. And they had press about it. And of course, it's giving that understudy way too much attention and so forth, but they're getting in front of it. They're saying, we know, we looked, you know our area, believe it or not, we could not find anyone that was willing to take this role on that was the right background for this part. But we're putting this thing in about identity. Please go with it, okay? I think that's the right thing to do when you're caught. But don't start out this way. Don't start out like, I don't care. Our area is too white, our area is too Mexican, our area is too this, and we're just going to gloss over all these other races in this piece because our area is, for lack of a better word, monochromatic as far as background. You need to look, or you need to change scripts, okay? The reason you're doing this play, you need to find out beforehand if you have the right people that want this part, okay? Now that company I just mentioned, they did. This was, we love you as an actor, and we want to do a part that also includes your background. And this horrible thing in his family happened and they had to leave. It's a very unusual situation, but there's some weird things out there. People get in car accidents and they can't do the show. People get COVID and they can't do the show. And your understudy, that maybe is not appropriate, has to come in at the last minute and take over this part. Get in front of it, but don't start out that way. All right. Now, I think you should all watch Yellowface when it comes on TV, no matter what country you're in. Again, advertisers, right now I could say, try this VPN. You can watch this American show in any country you choose because you have a special VPN. Don't you want to have me advertise that? You'd be a great sponsor. Okay, there's enough cheese for you. Thank you, and please subscribe. It would help me out enormously. And please share this with a friend if you can. All right, thanks.